Shout out to Satoshi's Ball by JustLearnCrypto.com in Ottawa, December 15th. Monarch Token of Monarch Wallet, StrokenTokens.com, Bitcoin Energy, and Bitbacker.io. Hey, how goes it? Ken Bozak here to talk about Bitcoin and Bitcoin accessories. And today I'm here with my bros, the Coin Boys podcast. How goes it, guys?
What's up? What's up? What's up, Ken? I'm so glad you invited us on. Yeah, just so everyone knows, I'm Andy and this is Daniel.
And I'm Daniel.
Yeah, guys, so why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves, let everybody know a little bit about yourselves, who you are, maybe how you got into crypto and how that led you together. Why don't we start with your nice hat, man? Yeah,
the nice hat. At one point in my life, they called me Tony Nice because of this hat, but that's a whole nother story. My name, I'm Andy, early adopter into crypto, pretty much like 2012. I go like back to the days where like I discovered it, about the technology, right? Mm-hmm. and it was a different time in 2012. It wasn't like 2017. So I discovered it on Reddit, literally on the Bitcoin Reddit. I was like, what the hell is this? It blew my mind, and I literally started asking questions. And I took about a month learning from people on that Reddit, by the way, in 2012, and they taught me what Bitcoin was, how to use it, where to send it, what was the best places to go back then, and I decided to buy my first Bitcoin, and that was in 2012, and always been a part of it. There were years where I kind of fell out. I had my crypto, but there wasn't a lot of social media about it. So it wasn't until 2017 that I got with Daniel, mm-hmm. and that was last year. We're like, you know what? We both love crypto. We both come from crypto. Let's do a podcast together. So that's kind of how I got into Bitcoin and how I got to Daniel. But Daniel, how did you get into crypto?
I'm a gambler. I don't know if you've ever gambled with your Bitcoin.
Oh man, isn't it all a gamble, baby?
It really is.
Yeah, it's always gambling.
But like, I love to play poker online, but they shut out Americans. Years
I had
ago.
a guest on my show, a couple guests actually now that have had the same backstory. It almost seems like the government kind of, accidentally educated people, right? By making it necessary to go out and learn because they regulated you out of what you love to do.
Yeah, and I love to do it. I just did it as a hobby. So instead of going to the bar, I'd go play poker online, spend the same amount of money. And it was fun. Right. I had the chance to get some money back. But they shut us all out. It wasn't a big hit for me. I have a few friends who it was a big hit for them. And then I was told by one of them that, they accept something called Bitcoin. And I'm like, how does it work? And I'll start depositing. So this was back in the day, a while ago. So the amounts that I would deposit was at the time was only like $30-$40. But like today, you'd be like, oh my God, you spent how much Bitcoin? So you're just like, oh man. But I didn't think of it as money. I thought of it as like a PayPal in my head.
Right, so like a way to send money, but not money itself.
Yes.
Right.
So I didn't keep it. I didn't think about keeping it or investing or anything like that. I didn't think it had any value because I didn't know anything about it other than, okay, I can gamble, great. But years later, I bought some more Bitcoin, and then I had left it in there overnight. I didn't put it in. I didn't put it into the poker account, and I saw it grew, and I went, I'm making more money holding on to this stuff. How does this work?
Oh, so that was your first experience seeing the volatility of the Bitcoin in a dollar value. Where do you mind me asking, like, where was kind of like your on-ramp into this crypto poker or crypto gambling world? Was there like a poker Silk Road that you got to experience?
No, I used the regular Bovada. Bovada is one that's open to Americans, but banks were. It was kind of like how the bank now will tell you where you can spend your money and where you can't.
Right.
Well, where I couldn't was my that particular site.
So you couldn't top up your account or withdraw from that account on that site, but it was a legal site to gamble on. You just couldn't deal with the banks.
Yeah, I can legally gamble on it, but I couldn't put money. So I was like, what the hell?
That's an evil flex on their behalf.
Yeah. So I'm like, whatever. So finally, now that I have Bitcoin and now that I have a way to put in money, I started using it, but then I kept it, it got up to like I bought in at 250 and I got up to like 800 around that time.
Oh wow!
And I took that money going, there's no way it's going to get any bigger than this. cashed out.
A lot of people did.
Went to Vegas, and didn't keep any more. So.
And when was this around 800? About 2016, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like
early 2016, late 2015. And then later on that year, I had a friend who was like a huge tech guy. Like he was like basically a prodigy with computers. And he hit me up and told, because I made his wife laugh on the internet, and he hit me up, which is like, whenever he calls, it's like, Jesus is calling, you better answer the phone, because this is the only time he's going to call. So I answered, and he made a Bitcoin joke, and I knew what it was, and I hit back at him, and then he goes, oh my God, I got to talk to you more about it. Turns out he was a lead dev on, at one point, it was like a top 4 coin.
Oh, wow.
Names won't be named.
Names won't be named.
Hey, I was like, that's such a coincidence, man. Small crypto world. I mean, at a 1% adoption rate, what are the odds?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's great. I wanted to maybe backtrack just a little bit, Andy. What are your thoughts on, like, you know, you got your rabbit hole experience through Reddit. What are your thoughts on what Reddit was and its contributions to Bitcoin then, as opposed to where it is now? Because, like you said, hey, what is Bitcoin? Where can I buy it? That total experience is night and day now that we have these forks and tribes within Bitcoin. We have people that would say Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin because of this and that. So, like, just what's your opinion on, like, Reddit as far as its contribution and its value in on-ramping people as their first experience today?
I think it was an outlet back then for nerds like me, people that wouldn't have saw that anywhere else but on Reddit. And Reddit was a perfect place for cryptocurrency enthusiasts back then, a safe place, a place like you didn't have to worry about, like, it wasn't Twitter, it wasn't any of that. Reddit back then wasn't even that popular to the mainstream. Now people like might not use Reddit, but you've heard of it. But back then, some people never heard of Reddit.
I've never used it, honestly, in my life. I refused to go to it. By the time I got a heard of it, it became a cesspool. So, like, I never really got into it.
Yeah.
So, yes, but there's still these pockets of amazingness today, I still think. But yes, you're not wrong. But back then, Reddit actually introduced me to it because back in those days, they would have on the sidebar would say, check out this random Reddit. Guess what the random Reddit was? It was the wizard, and it said, come here for magical internet money. And I was like, what the fuck? And I clicked it because it was cool. It was this, like, you know, MS Paint wizard telling me to go find this magical internet money. I was like, okay. But Ken,
not everybody's like Andy listening to magical MS Paint wizards.
Maybe I might have been high that day, and I was like, oh yeah, look at that.
This is a good idea.
This is a good idea. So clicked it, but then I realized it was more technical than I could ever have thought. That wizard was just not the representation you thought you were getting into. And I was just getting blown away. And I was talking to people at work. I was like, hey, did you guys ever heard of this Bitcoin thing? And they're like, what are you talking about? You know, it's this new internet money where you peer-to-peer. And they're like, you're crazy. And everyone would, like, you know, shoo me away. You know, I tried. But today the Reddit is nowhere near what it was. And it will never, ever be there. It will never get back to that. It's like I play video games. They say vanilla, the vanilla version of the game. It will never be that again.
Yeah.
So it's sad because you're right. Today you go on that Reddit, there might be a few cool links and some good posts, but mostly it's a cesspool of buy this, see that, do this. And it's really sad if you want my honest opinion. Yeah. I miss the fact that I literally went, hey, I really posted on the Bitcoin Reddit back then. I said, hey guys, what's a hot wallet? Yeah. And what's a cold storage? And guess what I got replied? Not, you're an idiot. You're a noob,
right.
No coiner. What a loser. They said,
you get that now, that's for sure.
Yeah. What did I get?
I was just talking to somebody about that. It's fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And you know what I got? I got links to, like, what a cold storage is and where to find it. And I was like, whoa, great thing. I asked questions, like, and people answered. And it's so crazy that is really hard to find today on social media.
Yeah.
So the big difference is, you're correct, night and day.
Well, and it's kind of crypto culture now, right? I mean, we, like, idolize memes and trolls. And, like, the worse the troll and the harsher the meme, the more we kind of idolize these characters in our space. And that's what people are starting to strive for. Instead of quality content and actual contributions, we've become this biased, intertribal, competitive world of, you know, who can out-meme who by distracting somebody the most. And it's like we've lost the purity, because I believe, you know, people say, oh, we're not at mass adoption yet, but I'm like, well, we've hit mass adoption when there's, you know, 100 or what, 2,000 different currencies and hundreds upon hundreds of different, you know, discords and slacks with thousands of people, and
Absolutely.
They're all different of opinion. That's what mass adoption looks like. You know, it looks like this, where people are arguing, where there are tribes that have opinions on how things should be, and that's what decentralization looks like. You know, and I could go into how decentralization is in its own worst enemy and best benefactor at the same damn time. It really is. Things from Bitcoin to Litecoin can kind of prove that, to Ethereum, even with, like, you know, Vitalik to Charlie Lee as opposed to Satoshi Nakamoto.
Right.
But yeah, I kind of wanted to tap into a little bit about, like, your podcast and what you are doing, and some of, like, you know, what you have done. So why don't you go ahead and explain sort of what the podcast is and what you're trying to, like, you know, what your listeners are getting out of it, what you're trying to do with it.
So this actually segues off of what we just talked about in a lot of ways, because Daniel and I got into this and we're like, what are we going to do? We're gonna predict prices. We're going to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, at first we were going to talk price.
We were like everyone else.
That was a great idea.
Like everybody else, right? We were in the midst of 2017. We really wanted to talk about crypto because we loved it.
Yeah, and it also segues from there. I was also on Reddit at the time when you could get help. And then it started to dwindle down, and I'm like, well, there are new people trying to come into the space. I want to help them in some way. So we figured we would try to stick with educating, because it was kind of like a way to force Andy and I, because we knew what Bitcoin was. We knew what Ethereum was.
We knew all of it.
We knew all this stuff, but we didn't really know it. We didn't really know who was behind it, what's the intention, what's the purpose. Like, I've heard of a smart contract. I didn't understand it at the time. So I said, let's force ourselves to educate ourselves, and then in the process, podcast it.
Our slogan was originally, on the first time we broadcast, I'm like, we are the Coin Boys, your average everyday crypto bros, because that's what we were. Now, a year later, we are now your average everyday, more informative crypto bros.
Yeah.
So Ken, what I'm saying is we wanted to do a podcast that did not talk about price, that interviewed people, focus on adoption, growth, try to like in an average way, like we're total bros, you know, like, you know, I live in California in the Valley, you know, I'm a chill, you know, I like comic books and video games. I also work in entertainment, but I love crypto. So let's educate them in a fun way where it's like we shoot the shit, but we learn about crypto.
Yeah, we essentially got like a free education from leading
all the shit
people.
We did.
So for people who are in the space, which is kind of one cool thing about the whole space, is you could actually reach out to the people who are making this, and they are willing to talk to you.
Yeah, I've been blessed this myself. I mean, people always ask, like, how did you get this guest? And I'm like, well, I just ask. I ask.
You just ask. Actually, I think I surprised him a bunch of times.
He surprised me many times.
I was like, he's like, you'll never get that person. I was like, all right, I'm going to email them and see if they say anything. And guess what? They come back and they say, yeah, I'd love to come on your show.
Yeah. So you know what, that kind of segues into my next question.
Cool.
What were some of your more memorable guests, memorable moments in the podcast?
The number one was John McAfee.
It was John McAfee.
Because that's the story. Is like, listen,
first one
I might not agree with. Yeah, and I might not agree with 100%. I have a thing, you know, I don't agree with 100% of what he stands for, but he would be great to talk to and be able to ask questions. So, Daniel, I'm going to reach out to John McAfee. And what did you say? You have good luck, bro.
But I was right. We had a Gmail account at the time.
Right.
He didn't respond back at all.
Right.
But then we got our website up. We're at thecoinbase.com. And I said, can we have professional emails now? Can we do this so that way it's easier for people to remember? Because we had a weird Gmail account. It was like, it's hard to remember.
But anyway, long story short, I emailed him again, and he literally replied, okay. I said, okay, well, John McAfee said he was going to do it.
Okay.
Then later, his wife, Janice McAfee, emailed me and said, we'd love to have John on your show. And I was like, great. And what I loved about that, and this is the most memorable thing, is that I told Daniel, I'm like, listen, he's not just important to what happened in crypto. This guy was a part of the early internet, like, boom. He created the first antivirus software I want to know about that first.
Yeah, during the Da Vinci Code, the Da Vinci virus error.
He told us stories about Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. He met the guy who created Netscape and told us how influential that was for the internet.
He told us about he used to work on the first computers where you had to like
the pro
like a bunch of stuff
in the 60s.
Oh my god. Could you imagine, dude? Yeah, the pictures of like a 500 and something megabyte, memory was like the size of a room.
It was huge.
And you had to like move things.
And have you seen John? Back in the day he was pretty ripped.
So
well, yeah, you had to be. Everything required a forklift with computers.
Exactly.
It was cool. I think we were noticing that everyone that interviewed him was just like, let's talk about crypto, and no one ever asked him
your dick.
And no one asked him like where he was born or how he grew up and like all the fun stuff. So that was one of the most memorable. That story was
it was a cool experience.
It was a cool experience. Literally, when we finished talking to him, I never had an experience where journalistically I felt like wow, we just did something really interesting.
Covered some shit.
Yeah, and I'm not tooting our own horn. It was just really that feeling, and that was our early days, of our podcast. So that was memorable. Actually, I love the fact that we kind of do a gaming centric theme. So we were one of the early people that
we were the only crypto podcast at E3.
Yeah, we were the only crypto podcast at E3. We were one of the and we were one of the early ones to really kind of in the podcast realm at least really talk about like let's talk about video game companies. We had Theta Token was our first interview.
Yeah.
His name and they're actually coming on soon again. But and then we've had Engine on and we've had a really good pull from like a gaming crypto community, and I really love that. And you've seen. I'm sure you've seen my posts on my normal producer, by the way, Twitter. I'm posting gaming stuff a lot. So I really appreciate the love of crypto and gaming, and we love doing it. So that's another thing about our podcast that I love to share.
I'm a big fan of Wax, man. I've been following them for a long time. I've ran into them probably like 6 times throughout the year at conferences I've been to. I feel like I've interviewed them maybe 3 times. What's his name? Malcolm?
William. We did William Quigley.
Oh, cool.
He's
co-founder, right?
The co-founder, yeah. Actually, he's a part of creating Tether.
We just found out he was.
Why don't you dive in a little bit about like what Wax is, what it does in the gaming crypto industry? I know it has to do a lot with collectibles and trading collectibles and things like that, tokenizing in-game content for these platforms that already exist, which is a really cool step moving forward. Why don't you guys dive into a little bit about that and maybe segue into Engine and what they're doing, because I've been following them recently and they're making some pretty cool waves in this space.
Sure. Wax, basically it's a decentralized way of buying skins for your, so say you play Players Unknown, which is PUBG.
Which I'm badass at mobile, baby.
Yeah.
I almost get chicken dinner every time. I'm not even
really?
I got the proof in the stats, bro.
That's awesome. That's the only way to go. Well, what I'm saying is that you could buy a skin from a game like that through a blockchain. And they have something called the Wax Explorer, which is a working utility where you could see the guns that you want to buy that are literally on the blockchain, and you could see who owned these guns and these skins before you. Like, this guy sold this gun to this person. And it's amazing that we were like blown away recently because we got to check it out. Yeah, is that it's working, cool. Man. It's working.
And it's really cool because they have a way of getting either your ETH tokens, your whatever, if you have a CryptoKitty, and it's under the Ethereum blockchain, they can get it to the EOS blockchain. The EOS blockchain.
They've actually.
So he said it on our podcast. Actually, they make a copy of it through Wax, and then they freeze the Ethereum token. It's frozen.
Like it's an escrow. Oh,
yes.
Snap! That's
an escrow.
Pretty crazy.
And then then you can buy it. You can keep it under the Wax, or you can say I want it under Ethereum, or actually can you move it to EOS, and they'll do it.
I've seen people do this with ICO tokens from things like Game Credits Mobile Go. They were on Ethereum as an ICO and Waves as well. And if you had the Waves, they would just freeze the ones on the Ethereum to balance it out. So say there was 21 million on both blockchains, there would only be 21 million in supply, like moving around. They would always counter free. That's really cool that they decided to incorporate that into these collectibles.
Yeah, and so but right now they're doing it not on original games that they've created. It's just they're kind of adopting games and bringing it into their wallet, which is he had a big problem when we were talking with the MetaMask wallet, so they created their own wallet, which seems pretty badass, actually.
Yeah, so they have a working Explorer where you could see guns that are on the blockchain. Now, also they created this thing just recently called stickers. And in gaming, if you ever watch people on Twitch, people always put like these crazy emojis and like stickers, and they're just literally that. They're just fun. You could create your own sticker, put it on a blockchain, on the Wax blockchain, and sell it to other people. And so an influencer could be like, hey guys, here's some stickers, and they're yours, that you own them. And
yeah, I just saw Crypto Stash, not to interrupt, Crypto Stash is giving away his customized wax stickers if you go and check him out on Facebook. So I wanted to shout out Crypto Stash. He just made the tweet on Twitter. Check him out. And yeah, I mean, that's really cool that they're working with the content creators in the crypto community and the gamers who are already have a following that are nothing to do with crypto at all. And Wax has made it possible for you to really do this without really knowing too much about crypto. You don't have to go diving deep into what a collectible, tokenized skin is. There's these people that are trading skins are used to it. They've been doing this. Wax comes from OpSkins, and OpSkins is why Wax exists. They've ran into problems with fake content that isn't recognized on platforms, to double spends, to chargebacks, and that's why they've incorporated this cryptocurrency and blockchain technologies to solve problems they've already had. So it's really cool that these gamers are already used to this concept of in-game content, peer-to-peer transaction, and now they're going to get kind of Trojan horse educated into why this is more secure than the traditional. I think it's really powerful.
And I want to just say that from interviewing a lot of cryptocurrency centric companies, they don't ever you never hear them talk about how shitty the market's going. They're because the gaming is actually pushing adoption right now, right? You said it. I think that is one of the biggest things. These gamers already know what microtransactions are. They get it, so at least that small percentage of that world can help push adoption. So, listen, working utility is a huge thing to say you have, and maybe it's not working the way you want it just yet, but it's there.
Yeah.
And I'm impressed that they were able to use the EOS, which
we still don't know how to pronounce.
EOS.
EOS is what I say, but I'm pretty sure it is EOS. I think that's how Brock Pierce says it. So however Brock says it, I guess is the right way to say it.
Right. So they're actually using their blockchain and that technology as well.
So they're kind of proof. Engine Coin, moving over to them, we feel are going to release some cool stuff. They're trying to be their own game developers using their blockchain to make those games. And what I liked from them was you're going to have the ability, hopefully, should everything work out, to take one asset from one game, let's say it's a gun in one game, and bring it into another game, and it could be like a card or something. And so you could so imagine
not skins,
so
items.
Imagine like taking the flower from Mario Brothers and saying, man, I really wish I had this flower in Metal Gear Solid, and you brought it into Metal Gear Solid, and it became like a flower flamethrower gun.
So that would so what they're doing is building that foundation layer for these developers to build games on where these items are recognized in each other. So that's a really interesting concept, because I don't know if that's been done before where you could do that. Like, play Grand Theft Auto and have a car from, Need for Speed in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Well, actually, here's how it's going to work.
It has to work a little bit differently.
So the way it works is that, you ever see Silicon Valley? Do you ever watch the series? Do you remember when?
I'm one season behind, but yes. Okay. So no spoilers.
So no spoilers. So what I'll say is that they literally got 6 companies.
No, think of it here. This will be easier this way. Think of it like the MCU and the DCU, right? Okay. They can't cross over because of rights. Rights are owned by different companies. So that's what's going to happen with these games. If the game is owned by the same company, even though it's on the same blockchain, the rights would only go through and the assets would only go through those things in terms of being active through the games under each company. So ideally, everything on Engine would all flow together.
What I'm saying, what they have done is they made deals with 6 publishers that are all going to work in tandem to make sure that items can be exchanged within their games.
Right,
that's how it will work. So what my Silicon Valley, it's that he, gets a group of people together basically to have one goal. So it might not be as easy as saying Mario Brothers Flower to Metal Gear Solid.
Right.
But the more developers they get, the more you can play different games, and yes, bring that sword to this game and that bush. I don't know why you need a bush.
Yeah, you need a bush.
You need a bush to hide
behind. I mean, there's a Fortnite bush.
That's why I'm saying that. Then you take your Fortnite bush or fake bush to the other game. That is what Engine's essentially doing, which is really ambitious and pretty awesome as well.
As the esports community is growing, and we're seeing more value go that way as far as people that play games and what they earn as gamers. I think that this is really going to pick up on that side where people are going to want to, you have Ninja playing Fortnite. He doesn't want to play that shit forever. But all those skins that he has collected over time, that's real money that he's spent. They're locked into that account forever.
Yes.
Imagine being able to play a game where you could send it to another player after you're done, or you could kind of put them up on an exchange and just put sell orders in and kind of go play on your next game. And that way, the time that you invested, the money that you invested in something isn't lost. And that's where I think the real importance is going to come from. And the micro transactions, like the gaming side of that, when people on YouTube send me a super chat, or people on Twitch, they get those super tips. These platforms take 30% of that. That's why I'm partnered up with bitbacker.io. They've made it possible for people to be able to send crypto tips where it's just the transaction fee, and that's what it's really all about. And I think that these gamers that are playing and they see they're only getting 70% or maybe less of their donations, they're going to try to move on to platforms where it's more lucrative to spend their time. And the same thing goes with the gaming, not just the streaming platforms. What games are worth my time when I'm done playing them? Is it still valuable? And that's really cool, where I see the crypto and gaming space going. And I think that gaming, where the gaming industry is going, plus the adult industry with crypto, that's the biggest snowball. And I don't think crypto needs our help anymore. I mean, where do you guys see it? What are your opinions on where we're at right now in this space as far as no, I know you don't talk price, but the price versus the tech, right? Bitcoin has increased in quality of technology since its all-time high in price. It hasn't dwindled in technology increase, right? We haven't lost progress. We've only increased. We have more adoption, more trades, more institutional means of on-ramp, but the price has gone down. So what are your opinions on the space right now, and where do you see it going forward?
Well, I think what I try to explain to people is that, listen, there are programmers, developers, and coders that are working their asses off developing the technology right now. They're not complaining. They're busting their asses, right? So I always say, don't forget, we're on the surface of things. You're just trading it. You're just seeing social media. But there's all these people, even miners, the people that are mining and doing, confirmations. It all matters, and those are the people that are helping. But it's people are forgetting, it's not just price. And yes, we care about price too, of course. It sucks that the market's low. Everyone wishes the market was up, right?
Yeah.
But what do I say is my head, this is me in 2017, this is me in 2018. I haven't moved, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because if we really care, then the people that we should be supporting are the developers and the programmers and pushing the adoption, because price will come eventually.
Amen. But here's what I saw in 2017, and a lot of 2017. It was the year of startups, and startups take time to develop. So 2018, I feel became a bear market because it was slow. These startups were cashing out on the Bitcoin that they needed to fund their projects if they were legitimate for the most part. That's what they're doing. And if they weren't legitimate, they're definitely bailing out. So it takes a year and a half to see some sort of return on a lot of these projects. So it's going to take some time for that to happen. Once more adoption besides gaming, which gaming is awesome, gaming is wonderful, and I feel that gaming in the adult industry are, everybody will follow. Yep. As soon as movies also follow as well. mainly Disney. If we can get Disney on this would be great. But
you know what, dude, I could dive down that rabbit hole for a minute if you have. I mean, like, I always thought about the concept of you know, when you go into a store and buy a DVD, it comes with a downloadable MP4, right?
Yeah.
Well, the problem they have with that right now is I can share that, copy it, and we can all watch it at the same time. There's no like risk to, you know, sharing that. Well, imagine if they tokenized that downloadable content and you could only watch it on a wallet that, you know, it was a private key that you needed to be in possession of in order to stream it, right? This is something similar that Xbox was trying to do when you had to stay online to play a video game, and the video game would be a lot cheaper. That's a whole different thing. But my idea is if they tokenize these downloadable contents, it would have a risk aversion. I wouldn't want to share that private key with, you know, everybody, because if somebody were to sweep it and then change the private key and putting it on a new wallet, we would all lose access to it. So I wouldn't want to share that downloadable content. And I think that step they may take is figuring out how do they tokenize this downloadable content. So like Disney has a wallet, which is their Disney media browser or whatever, and you can, you know, download or buy their content, but then you could also exchange it on their open exchange on the Disney exchange. So I watched a movie 100 times, I'm kind of over it. I can kind of sell it on their exchange instead of going through GameStop, where Disney doesn't see any return revenue on that purchase and retail sale, which is why they have a problem with things like this. So I think that's their incentive and may potentially be the on-ramp to them adopting the technology. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, Disney has something called the Disney Vault. Are you aware of this?
Yes, with the VHSs and people, it's like
not
buying
just
Pokemon cards and Beanie Babies. They're investments.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not just VHSs. It went into DVDs and it went into Blu-rays and it's still continuing on to whatever the next format is. They're only allowing movies to be sold in certain time periods. So you, as an investor in Disney's movies at the time, or the whatever tokens they end up doing, that's what they're going to start doing, just selling those tokens. Disney itself is fully aware of that. And I heard something about Dragon Chain back in the day.
I think Dragon Chain has people from Disney, and that was the confusion people used to have with that. Yeah. They're like, it's Disney. It's like, no, they're people from Disney that were like,
oh, I love that. Yeah, Justin's son bought a Big Mac and they partnered with McDonald's.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, back in the day, FOMOs were great, but or FUD back in the day was great, but so. It's going to be just a matter of a few years as soon as they realize the blockchain technology, how they can control everything and how they can make a profit off of you exchanging it just based off of the transaction fees.
Yep.
It's going to happen. It's going to suck for us because now some things are going to be far more expensive than
I think they'd be cheaper, honestly, because it eliminates the black market that they lose money at, right? Like, that's why a video game costs $60 instead of $30 is the resale problem. I can sell you the game, and then you can sell somebody else the game, and that prevents somebody from buying the game at the shelf price, and they lose money all 3 times, you know? And I think that's the solution. There's GameStop has it is a big problem with the cost on games right now. That's why I was a big supporter of when Microsoft said the Xbox One was going to be online mandatory. I said, genius.
I was all for it.
Genius. And that's when everybody was like, boo. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. You bought the game, your internet goes down, you can't even play the offline version of the game. But you know how much cheaper it would be, how much better for the digital content economy it would be. And I feel like with the means of, you know, internet we have now and the 5G data that's coming our way, and the cost of, I mean, dude, like I say this a lot and I feel like I repeat myself, but even homeless people have smartphones and use hotspots to use social media and things. So it's like, don't think that, you know, everything has to be online, the work thing won't work. I think it's actually going to be quite cost effective for us, the consumer. It may cut out a lot of third parties, like GameStop may not exist, and that may cause problems with jobs and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, it is what it is when it comes down to the bottom line of us, the customers, and these companies are going to have to compete for us and our money, and it's going to be consoles versus, you know, digital contents, things like Fortnite that are on everything and cross-platform and really stretching the boundaries. And I'm waiting for that next thing, you know, the crypto version of Fortnite that does what Fortnite did, and it's going to probably be what Wax is doing, honestly, with, like you said, things like PUBG, Counter what's that thing?
Counter-Strike, CS:GO.
Huge. CS:GO, dude. These games are huge. They have huge communities.
Huge.
Well, it depends.
Their communities trade in-game content. That's what they do.
It depends on how the gaming, like Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo, decide to distribute that content, because there's a lot of people who can't afford to buy games when they first come out, so they wait for the secondhand area and for the price to go down a little bit. And usually through GameStop, it's a little bit faster than online in a lot of cases. But if the gaming and the studios all keep control of their own content, now it becomes a question of, okay, are they going to do a monthly subscription fee so that way more people can play? Because not everybody's going to be able to buy those $60 games.
Yeah.
$80 games in the future, $100 games in the future.
Right.
Because that's how that fiat works. So I feel it's just more because I grew up renting video games. There's no way I could afford.
Well, when they're tokenized, we could all rent one game. Say it is $100. All three of us pitch in $33, and we can share the game, as a pool. Like we all can't play it at the same time, but it would be like going back and having the disc, and you just come to my house when it's exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's I don't know, man. Maybe I'm too stoned or something. Maybe I'll have to get on my level to start.
Everything you're saying is making sense. I just feel like there's gonna be a way that these fucking studios are gonna fuck us just because that's what they tried to do.
I don't think that's I feel like you're right, but that's the companies that are in that comfortable state right now that are already established, and it doesn't make sense for their profit margins and their business model right now, and that's fine. Good for you. But the companies that haven't been coming up yet, the 6 guys working with Engine, and this is what I'm saying. These are going to be the next Treyarchs, the next PlayStations, the next Sonys. I don't care if Sony adopts this and figures it out how to use it. Maybe it doesn't work for them. Who cares? But that's the point of early adoption, risk reward, first mover advantage. I think that by the time it does work out for them, then they figure out how to manipulate it for the corporate business structure to profit. Other companies are going to realize that it's really how do we make our customers and end users profit the most to get the most end users, period. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think it's going to come down to. All this technology, and I've been to G20, Money 2020, all these conferences about money that had blockchain kind of in the background, and they all want to figure out how to utilize this technology to make more money for themselves by getting more from their end user. And that's the wrong way to look at it. You have to have, how can my end user get more value out of using my platform rather than my customer's platform? That's how you're going to make more end users, and that's how you're going to have a better business model.
I completely agree with that. Absolutely.
So this is for the small guys.
Goes.
Yeah. I would love to be able to do things like I talk to a lot of these gamers that are Twitch streamers that have 100K subscribers. I'm not gonna be name dropping the clout, but I talk to a lot of streamers that do Twitch and play Fortnite and other games and RuneScape, stuff like that, and which is kind of how they got into Bitcoin. It's RuneScape, which is awesome. RuneScape. But I talked to them about the concept. Imagine having a private server on Fortnite where we all put $100 worth of, crypto, and all of us each, 100 people, put $100 in the escrow, and micro payments per second you're alive. You have to pay per second, so you have an incentive to stay alive, and on all this. And every time you kill somebody, you get their pool.
That's crazy.
But that would be great.
That would be fun.
That'd be awesome. That's a great idea.
Crazy is an awesome.
Right, and that's how I see the future of competitive gaming, and that's what this technology is building. And I think that's the future of Wax, and they don't see it yet, is hosting private server matches for in-game content. Everybody puts up an item from the game, they play, winner takes all kind of a scenario, the competitive aspect, because the attention economy is the next industrial economy. We don't need people to stand at assembly lines anymore, or would you like fries with that? That's gone. What we have now is those people either creating content or consuming content, and that's the next attention economy. That's why I see that coming, and that's what cryptocurrencies, blockchain, microtransactions, the whole microeconomy thing is building towards, with things like Uber and Airbnb. I mean, that's the baby steps. Imagine 20 years from now.
I mean, the reason why I'm still into crypto is because of how much it can help the little person, the people who need the help. It can help them a lot. I got into a bit of an argument with some guy because he was rich. He was well off, fiat-wise. He was well off and rich. He goes, "Why do I need Bitcoin?" I'm like, "Bro, it's not for you. I don't know what to tell you other than you're who we're trying to stop. You're the dick, basically.
Yo, I actually was asked that question on stage in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so, that's funny. So I'll tell you my response, but go ahead.
Go for it. No, I just basically was like, it's not for you. Like, if you do nothing, and this is the unfortunate truth, if you do nothing and everything switches, then whatever money you have switches over. Now, the value of your money may go down a little bit, but not to the point where he's screwed. And unfortunately, rich get richer in this economy.
Yep.
So he's going to be fine. But it's for the people who don't have that opportunity to have a bank account, to hold on to their money, to have money where it doesn't lose extreme value all the time. Although right now it's kind of like they're all together. But
I still think it's doing better than the Venezuelan currency, a lot of other third world countries. But my response on stage was a little eccentric, I would say. I was a little upset that they even asked, and they were like, they said sort of the same thing, like, I'm pretty well off, blah blah blah, why do I need Bitcoin, and I'm like, well, you don't. I mean, that's like saying, why do I need the cure for cancer? I mean, maybe you don't have cancer, but if you invested in a company that's working on it and they come up with the cure for cancer, you benefit in it helping other people that desperately need this cure. And what banks are cancer on the financial economy, period. So other people have this tumor in their life that is this central authority called a bank that does screw them, or a central fiat issuer that screws them, by inflation. And that is their cancer, and Bitcoin is their cure. You don't have this cancer, fine, but you can invest in it and benefit off knowing the fact that other people are using it for their benefit. You don't need something to invest in it to know that other people do need it and will utilize it for their benefit. And that's kind of like the perspective that these first world problem rich guys don't really have. They're like, and I see it on Shark Tank all the fucking time, and they're like, oh, I don't see a use for that. And I'm like, because you're rich and you don't live in the fucking real world, you moron.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I don't see where I can make a profit.
The doorbell, that doorbell that had the camera on it with the live feed that hooked up to the Wi-Fi, they passed on it. And they fucking knocked it out of the park, because everybody that has doesn't have a doorman or a butler or somebody has to, you know what I mean? There's a real use for it in the real world. But those 1%, rich guys like on Shark Tank don't see it. So they miss out on like that common person's problem and the solution to it. So they don't see it as a solution because they don't even see the problem to begin with. You're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. All right, dick. And that's kind of what they look at Bitcoin, right? Like, Bitcoin isn't even a problem because I can send $1 million, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but some people can't even send $1. It costs, 33 cents or 88 cents. I have a picture. Somebody sent $1 at Walmart with a money order, cost 33 cents. Come on, or 88 cents. I was like, how's that even worth it? So it is a real weird conversation to have with people that have that perspective, but I don't want them to benefit off Bitcoin. Great, don't. I don't even want you in this space. Get the fuck out before you even get in, because they're the toxicity we don't need. You're the guy who wants Bitcoin to go up instead of Bitcoin to be adopted at a local store.
Exactly, and it gets frustrating sometimes when you meet those people, but you're like, but then it just reminds you why you're here. It just reminds you again what you're trying to do. Hopefully.
So I wanted to cover some some recent
local
news.
Local Ken news.
Yeah. So I'm baked. That's the news.
Around the neighborhood with Ken.
So recently, the former Prime Minister of Israel has called crypto a Ponzi scheme, but underlines the importance of blockchain technology. So the perpetual motion machine doesn't need the energy it uses to keep going. It'll just work, right? Like, blockchain doesn't need crypto. It's fine. Crypto's a scam, and this has been the sentiment since the beginning. So, like, what is your opinion, guys, on this perspective coming from a former prime fucking minister?
I just don't think you could take the blockchain out of crypto and the crypto out of blockchain. I
want that on a t-shirt.
You should. It's just what they don't realize. That's just them not being educated and knowing even what the fucking technology does.
I feel the reason why they say that is because obviously if governments...
It's the money thing.
If governments say, okay, Bitcoin's fine or whatever, if they put some sort of recognition and acceptance on it, then that means that their money is going to go into that and they lose out.
It's like saying the entrees suck, but man, those avocado egg rolls were really good.
So it's kind of like back in the day. Did you ever do the DARE program?
Yeah, man, everybody had to. It was
Yeah.
mandatory and annoying.
Right? So they told you, a weed's not bad, but it's the gateway. They're like, blockchain's not bad, but Bitcoin. It's kind of like they're trying to make Bitcoin some sort of weird, stage 1 drug, and but blockchain is okay. It's just you can use the gateway a little bit, kind of thing. They just don't want the money going into Bitcoin.
I think it's saying money publicly, like saying the crypto side of it really scares them. But the blockchain's cool. Like that's what everyone says. But
so people who are not really educated in the space, they separate the two, not realizing they're actually the same thing.
Is there a way that you see a use of blockchain technology without having cryptocurrency involvement?
Well, it's kind of a ledger is a ledger is a ledger. That's what a blockchain is. A blockchain is a ledger. Now, the question is how much is the total on this ledger? That's it. And can we change that total or not? You're gonna have a ledger for whatever reason, holding whatever things you need to hold in it. So that's.
But it's like non-fungible. It's like, say you want to use the blockchain technology, all you have to say to yourself is, don't give out the tokens, or don't use them for money case. Use them for what this. You remember in 2017 they were like, Treehouse coin and Electric coin. There was like a use case for everything. But it's, I don't know. It's. Yeah.
Here's the thing. They're not separate.
They're not separate. It's even hard to explain.
You can't separate anything. They're one and the same. It's just the question is how much is on this one.
I guess I'm frustrated because I've had recently my friend text me. He's like, I don't like this crypto thing, but I kind of like the blockchain thing. I'm like, what?
Well, then that's fine. I say that's fine. That's why I don't even argue. I go, yeah, great. I'm glad you like blockchain technology. Continue.
So why don't you tell the viewers how do they invest in this blockchain thing that they've been hearing about?
We'll go to Blockbase.
Now you have to figure that one out. I mean, look at
we'll have to make Blockbase instead of Coinbase somehow. Sell blockchain.
Some people feel that investing in Bitcoin is like investing in Laserdisc right now. And I can't argue with that.
Probably.
I can't argue with that because there are a lot of problems with Bitcoin. But I will say, well, then find another blockchain, find another technology, see what their rules are, see how that works. And if you like it, invest in that now. Here's the thing. You may need Bitcoin to invest in that. And that's going to be the key to that one. You're either going to, if you do need Bitcoin, then you got to figure that one out as well. You have no choice.
I just think, oh man, we were talking about how the market is today. It's just really getting bad publicly around with friends. Like it's getting to that point again where like, what happened to crypto, man? What's going on? Because I'm getting all these, I'm like, oh man, all my non-crypto friends are texting me again, telling me what's going on. It's frustrating for me because we've been working so hard at trying to educate, and it still feels like we're so far behind. We got so long. That's what I tell people. I was like, look, maybe you don't like crypto, but we got a long way to go. So just, I think it's like people have to try to be patient in this time, but it's impossible. But I beg you to try to be patient, because if you're just here for the money, then it's not helping really. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why on our podcast we really promote adoption and use. I especially like the blockchains or the projects that allow you to play with it for free, just so that way you can learn how it works. And I always promote that. I say, you know what? If you are skeptical in investing, if you're skeptical in putting in money, play with this one. See how it works. Then you'll kind of understand and be prepared for when you are ready to step in, when you are ready to do those things.
I always try to incentivize people to earn rather than buy. You know what I mean? Like there's things like, BitTube or Steam It or, so many other ways that you, Latium, what's some more? I feel like there's others, earn.com. There's so many different ways to like kind of put yourself in the environment to earn crypto rather than, putting your fiat into it and purchasing it. And I try to kind of incentivize people more that way right now. Is like, how do I buy Bitcoin? I'm like, well, all right, here's how you could buy it. There's Coinbase, Bitcoin ATMs, this, that, the other. But, I would probably check out this account, check out this platform. And, maybe while you're engaging with the platform, you'll learn, you'll earn, and, stuff like that. So I was just wondering, like, what are ways that you guys are going about maybe earning crypto right now and using, your podcast on other platforms? Have you been checking out things like BitTube or Steam It, stuff like that?
I used Steam It a long time ago, actually. I've been using Steam It for a while. Haven't been using it as much as I used to, but we actually introduced it on the podcast. We did an episode on it, and I was very well versed. I actually have a lot invested into what's called Steam Power, which pretty much means that I'm saying, here's all of my Steam, I mean, and I'm willing to put it all into this brand so that I could earn back more when I post things on Steemit. So my experience was messing around with something called D-Sound with us. It was like SoundCloud for decentralization. But so mainly, Ken, I got to use like the Steemit blockchain a lot. And I'm still invested in Steemit and still have Steam Power. But recently, they laid off 70% of their staff.
Yeah, I mean, the coin has dropped very drastically, and
but that's
Yeah,
so.
I feel like, well, that's another thing too. Is like we've seen the user drop as well on there. The use
probably a lot.
Yeah, so it balanced out, right? Like the amount of value being created and the amount of manpower that needs to be behind it and what they could afford. I feel like it's all balancing out and sustaining. But a kind of full circle to what Steam and gaming kind of is I found this game on Steam, and it's called Steam Monsters.
I think I've seen that, actually.
Nice. Steam Monsters, and if I cover my private key, I can kind of show you what they look like. And it's a collectible card and has a private key on it that you can redeem, and you can game on the Steam blockchain with Steam Monsters. And it's just another cool way of like engaging with a blockchain technology to either post content like articles or podcasts, or even game on the same blockchain. It's just like what UI has been built on top of that technology. Things from D-Live to D-Sound to Steep Shot, all these different things that have been built on top of Steemit. It's really cool to see.
I think that it's awesome, but the problem, I think, is use. I think that's the problem. Is like we need more people to use them, and it really fell off. I think in 2017 there was a surge in those. There was a lot of people using D-Live and D-Tube, and then, oh man, it's just fallen off.
Content has fallen off, but over time that
will pick back up.
But the one that
has a lot to do with the ease of use. You're right. I mean, it's not super user friendly. It's buggy and stuff like that.
Yeah, but the one that I tell people that I'm telling people now, if they want to play, that I like and you can use something is the Brave browser, because you can get BAT.
Yeah, dude.
When you use the Brave browser.
That's true.
And it's simple, and it'll start you off to learn how to move it, where to put it, all the other stuff, and what it's for, and the use by like paying these websites that you go to in BAT token. So I thought that was great.
Did you claim your website and podcast on the Basic Attention Token platform? So
not yet.
We should.
So what you're saying, I made a video on this a little while back. I posted it on Twitch, and it's my only video on Twitch, but it really appeals to Twitch streamers because you can do this on YouTube, Twitch, your website, things like that. And if you claim it, which means you have to verify that you're the owner, login, user, password, or things like that. Things like posting something in like WordPress on your website to verify that you own the website. So when people visit it and they're paying out of their micro donations, because Basic Attention Token, if you have, say, 100 Basic Attention Tokens in your wallet on Brave browser, and I visit the Coin Boys podcast, I'm going to say I want to give these guys a microtransaction for every minute I spend on their website and on their YouTube and listening to their podcast. And after a certain amount of time, you will actually get an email from them saying, hey guys, you didn't claim this website. Looks like it's yours. You may want to go ahead and do so. You've earned some, cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really cool. It goes without you having to claim it, or if you already have, you just set up your wallet. I use Uphold. So I actually earn BAT right now from people that have this all set up. They're watching my YouTube channel right now. I get the microtransactions, and on Uphold, I get a little notification every once in a while. It's like, hey, you made payout.
Oh, that's cool. Sweet. Okay.
That's awesome.
We definitely want to look more into that.
Yeah, we got to check into it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just starting with Brave. I'm loving it, and I usually don't promote things unless I've tested it out and I feel pretty good about it.
I've been big on it ever since I found out it was the dude who created Java. And I was like, what? And then I looked into Brave and I was like, wait, this dude created Java, Brave, and Basic Attention Token. Yeah, I'm in. I'm in.
I definitely was excited for it. So that's my one way to get into it now, basically.
That's a good one. I like it a lot, actually. Do you have any particular ways that you're like earning crypto or anything like that?
I actually got into it with I just started using Brave browser as well, so I've been doing that. But
outside of that, we don't really do much else because we don't monetize our podcast.
We haven't monetized.
Earn.com. Go to earn.com, right? It's owned by Coinbase, and you could actually sort of kind of charge people for your time, right? So it's like if people really wanted to engage with you and ask you questions or have you reply to emails, like some companies email you and you're like, I'm not going to even read this. You can actually hit them with the thing from earn.com where it would charge them $1 or whatever you set, and you only get paid by them if you reply to that DM or email. And that's sort of how I had to filter my emails from all these companies that want to send me, will you review this scam? And I'm like, I don't even want to say no. I'm not even going to acknowledge this email with a no. So I hit them with the earn.com thing. They have to pay me and I just say no. You know what I mean? So
I like that aspect.
It is pretty cool way to kind of like filter spam because it does kind of charge, right? And you know, people say there's no such thing as spam when you're charging and paying for the engagement, although it is network spam. You know, there is spam. Yeah. But I mean, if someone's gonna give me $1 just to tell them no after reading a paragraph of their crappy ICO, you know, or something like that, then I'm gonna use that as a means. So that's one. Bitbacker.io. I hook up my YouTube channel too, and people can do power chats, unlike super chats where they steal 30%. I get the full amount through bitbacker.io, and it's sort of like a Patreon. You can subscribe to donate like $5 a month to my YouTube channel instead of going through YouTube to do the same thing where I only get like $2 or something. You know, it's really cool, different ways of earning crypto. Besides things like BitTube and Steam, DLive, all these other means, there's a lot, guys, and it's really getting more and more. And I'm just like, you know, the bear market's really disincentivizing people, and they're like, oh, nothing's really. I'm like, there's so much progress being made. People are just staring at red and green candles and not really looking at the projects. And you know, like, oh, there's no users. I mean, look at Steam's blockchain, man. They have the most underrated blockchain is Steam, in my opinion. They have a use case, a platform, users. I mean, it is a great, perfect start point for where blockchain's at right now in far as what it can hold. I don't want Walmart to be accepting it right now, but I love what Steam's doing.
Well, I think that what's sad is that those important platforms are suffering right now. You know, and I think that's one of the biggest problems is that they're suffering because no one's using it. They're just looking at candles. And
so what are some of the projects that you guys have fell in love with throughout the years? You know, since getting into this space and doing the podcast and interviewing a lot of these, you know, founders of projects and companies, you kind of learn a little bit more about them than an average end user. Has there been any that have sort of like impressed you? Not saying, oh, this is financial advice, but I mean like things like, oh, wow, if this were or it does exist, you use it, stuff like that. Like, what's really impressed you this year? Because I feel like we were talking, a lot of people were stuck on the hopium and vaporware and all these ICOs that didn't come into existence. But there are a lot of projects that are undervalued and underrated because nobody really knows or talks about them. So let's give them their moment in the limelight. What are some of the ones that you guys think deserve some more attention? What has impressed you?
I think I will say, I have to be honest, it's probably most of the gaming-centric tokens I've seen. So Engine Coin, I remember when Engine Coin was, you know, I never even heard of it.
You remember before you heard of it?
No, but what I mean is that someone told me about Engine, like just some random person's like, did you hear this gaming token, Engine Coin? Yeah. Engine Wax, Theta token, I really love. I love and am in love with and will always be in love with the granddaddy, the grandmama, Bitcoin. I know that it's a slow use, but if you ever ask me what I can recommend you the most, I always say Bitcoin. So honestly, we've had so many tokens on the show and coins on the show, but it's so hard for me to just like say, these guys you should go out and get. I just feel like anything gaming centric that we've done, and Bitcoin.
I'm not a gamer, but after doing these podcasts with Andy, I really do like the gaming centric coins.
I'm not a gamer, I just play a lot.
I wish. Because I remember I used to play Magic the Gathering back in the day, and the concept of these like Gods Unchained like sounds awesome to me because that's what I used to do.
This is very similar, man. I'll hook you up with a free Steam monster.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank you. So so that's pretty cool. Outside of gaming, though, we just recently I don't know if we posted it. We haven't posted it yet, but we talked to one of the founders of Bread.
BRD, actually.
Cool. BRD.
Well, it's actually BRD.
Over there. BRD, I love those guys.
Yeah. Why am I forgetting his name? So sorry. But it's I loved what he had to say. First off, he had such an awesome history. Secondly, I've had that wallet for a long time. It's been a very trusted wallet for me. And the amount of tokens and crypto that you can have on that wallet now is insane. I'm like, this is kind of what we need.
So
was it Alex Eaton maybe?
No.
That's the guy I talked to from Bread Wallet. I love Alex Eaton. He came up with the beginner Bitcoin box. So if you guys are looking for a cool Christmas present, reach out to Alex Eaton, get the Bitcoin beginner box. And it has like this cool little like kind of mini Bible looking thing of like the Bitcoin white paper and blockchain crypto explain things. Really cool stuff in there, and he's part of the Bread team. I met him at a couple conferences, and you know what? It's funny that you bring that up, and I'll be the controversial person in this. I think the Bread wallet used to just be Bitcoin only, and I wished it stayed that way, kind of. When I first interviewed Andreas Antonopoulos, and I asked him which wallet does he recommend, it was the Bread wallet, and I was big on Bread because they were Bitcoin only, even through the fork and the Bcash, and you know the bull run into Litecoin and everything else. They kind of say all Bitcoin centric, which was really awesome way to say, like, you know, when people say, oh, what Bitcoin wallet should I download, I would always say like, hey, Bread wallet, because it's only Bitcoin. But if people were like, what cryptocurrency or digital asset wallet, I would say things like Edge or Monarch, things that would hold different assets. So I kind of do wish that Bread stayed Bitcoin only and just really mastered that like multi-sig aspect, you know, or like anonymous kind of like, you know, tried to make like the anonymous transactions on Bitcoin a little bit cleaner for people to use, multi-sig, things like that, or even sending out batch transactions. Like these things that wallets don't really have right now, I would have expected from Bread back when I first got in, where I want to send you and you both $20 each. Well, I only need one transaction to send $40 out. So why don't we have these things inside of these wallets? So I don't know, kind of had a different perspective.
Yeah, after talking with him, he kind of addressed some of those things, and I liked the game plan.
It's Aaron Lasher, by the way.
Aaron Lasher.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Yeah, co-founder, right?
Co-founder, yes. Great guy. Really nice guy.
And
I met him in Texas.
Oh, wow. Nice. He was really cool.
He was so smart.
Yeah,
and
very smart
just
guy.
Based off of his education, from what he gave us, he kind of... I like how they're taking their time and doing. They're not rushing things, basically. And so I have a feeling that all those problems that you have are being addressed, and they already are kind of fully aware of it.
Exciting.
But I don't know. Who knows? They're not paying me to say this, so I have no clue. But I just liked the that he kind of knew what's going on, had a vision of and a reason why you want to kind of do the multi-token, the multi-asset wallet.
Right, and Bread having their own token, the BRD token.
They do.
I thought that was pretty smart, especially since that's like what all right, so when Binance came and did the BNB and everything, I made a video on it before it even hit $1, and I was like, dudes, this is a great idea. I know it's maybe not the most politically correct thing in crypto. I get that, but it makes sense as a business model, right? It makes sense to have this token with the use case, with the exchange, with the users they have, and they have this incentivization model to have like a referral program on the transaction fees. To what Binance did before they were what they are now, I saw. Right. So I kind of covered that, and I did the same thing with the Bread token on the Bread wallet. I was like, it does make sense in a structured business model to have an in-house token to kind of have a frictionless or a less more cost-effective, frictionless way to do things in-house. And I like that Bread's kind of went the same route as Binance with that token. Yeah,
it's giving us atomic swaps without the technology being available right now.
It's really awesome what they're doing for like the end user.
Yeah, so that's why I'm on board with that methodology. I mean, so what Wax is doing right now with the CryptoKitties into either blockchain. Yeah. So that's what's needed right now. Will it be needed in the future? I don't think so. But we'll find out.
I do want to shout out one. We're talking about something I recommend. We had an interview with this company called SoCouch, a gaming company in Denmark that's developing a video game called Ember Sword.
Ember Sword.
And what's really amazing about this is that it's not the game is on a blockchain, it's the ecosystem of the game. You could buy land in the video game to own that is connected to a blockchain.
Wow.
And that is a technology that I haven't seen that they're
I have, actually, yeah. All right, so this is really cool. Google this. Most expensive digital content ever. And there's this company that has created a game. It's not tokenized, not blockchain, none of that. But it's a centralized server, but it's weird. So, dude, somebody spent $1 million on a planet in this centralized galaxy game that exists. And basically, because he owns the moon or this planet, people that visit it to mine for in-game currency resources like ore or whatever, they pay him tax in that in-game currency. This person has made 10x return already in like 4 years.
So
and I see a real huge use case for this.
Yes.
And that's great that they're doing it. What was the name of it again? I'll make sure I put a link to this.
They're Ember Sword.
Ember Sword.
But the company's called SoCouch.
SoCouch
is
really.
What blockchain are they building this on? Are they building it on their own blockchain?
It's called Pixel. The currency is called Pixel with 2 other tokens, a land token and
3 other tokens. A land token.
Well, there's Pixel.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Pixel, land, and then just like a skin token.
Skin token.
Like a skin token.
Oh, so like a non-fungible collectible currency coin. All right.
It's called SoCouch.
Yeah,
all right, guys, check that out. I'll put a link to that in the description box below. Yeah, and definitely, guys, if you're watching, Google that. The most expensive digital content ever, and it goes from 6 figures all the way up to millions of dollars for digital, content that isn't necessarily, decentralized. It has problems with, censorship and just, all kinds of problems that could be associated with buying something on a centralized server like that. But that's what this technology, what blockchain is really doing, is taking what is already been done that makes sense to incorporate it, right? Like a lot of people, like, your potato chips don't belong on the blockchain right now, sorry, or maybe never will. But, the things like Opskins, the problems that they have had with these in-game currencies, or, in-game content being traded and having problems, and the solutions they have found utilizing blockchain, it just makes sense moving forward. And seeing what they're doing with Ember Sword, that just makes so much sense. From, like, very coincidentally, just started looking into that with Decentraland. Use the wallet by Coinbase, used to be called Toshi, and they have this Ethereum browser in it that has all the dApps, so it's very similar look and feel to like Chrome. And when you go into Chrome, you see all the extensions. If you download the Coinbase wallet called Toshi, or now called just Wallet, you can go and interact with all these Ethereum dApps, just like on going to Chrome and looking at these extensions. Super clean, easy to use, and you can click on Decentraland and you could buy real estate. And imagine you own this real estate and so happen to have a resource in your area that is lucrative and people pay a tax, and like you can now earn off of this. And that's why I'm saying, like, I really do see the future of gaming. I mean, look at esports alone, guys, and and crypto. I mean, if you look at both industries right now, I mean, on top, if you want to look at all the industries that are kind of moving in and up at the same time, you have the cannabis industry, the adult industry, the gaming industry, and anything blockchain in that industry. And they're all moving into the same direction of cryptocurrencies, blockchain technologies, to kind of solve the problems they already have. They're not creating problems to solve, they're solving problems they have.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the whole idea now. At this point, we're solving. We need to solve problems so we can have the technology catch up. Once that technology catches up, we can create more problems to which we need to solve again, and just let that cycle continue going.
So what's the roadmap for you guys, right? What are you looking at moving forward? Where's your podcast headed? What are some of your goals? Things like that. Let the audience know where they can find you as well and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So we have a lot. This year is going to be a big year for us because we spent about a year building a foundation, creating kind of like a mantra of who we are. And I think we have a reputation of, and we're very respectable to the community. We care about the community.
Your credibility is really strong in this space, guys.
Thank you.
You've been solid, I would say personalities. I hope that isn't offensive. I'm a personality in this space.
I don't care about that stuff.
Personalities in this space, man. As
Thanks.
far as like, crypto Twitter goes, and podcasting, I've seen people sell out and go a different direction, and you have been very admirable. So I'm happy to have you on the show. And,
Yeah,
and I encourage my viewers to go and check you guys out. Like the links are below, everybody.
Yeah. That's thecoinboys.com. You can go there and you get all our content. We're starting to blog a little bit as I think of things that I'm like, oh, I didn't really know too much about this. Let me blog about it and I'll put it up there. Or
we also have T-shirts now.
Yeah, dude, I need one of those, man.
We're gonna send you one. You're gonna get one for sure. Bit Ninja, shout out to him. He's our partner. He's been hooking us up with helping us make some cool T-shirts.
Yeah, he's really good.
I actually just partnered up with Bit Ninja yesterday. I saw that you guys and Bitcoin Ben, our truck driving brother, and everybody's working with Bit Ninja. And I actually just bought a Bit Ninja box. And it was like $70. I think that's super affordable for the Bitcoin crate, and I'm hella excited. And he actually in the DM, I was like, dude, I want to buy one of these. And the Bit Ninja is like, yeah, here's the address. I sent him the Bitcoin, sent him my address. He's mailing it out to me. I'll have it in a couple days for an unboxing. And he was like, dude, thank you so much for not like flexing your influence. I'm like, dude, if I ever try to flex as an influencer to get free shit, you better slap this shit out of me at the next conference I'm at. And this goes for all of my viewers as well. Like, you know, people I know charge to come on podcasts and charge to like help support people that are like small, like people that are trying to like HODL Fuel and Bit Ninja and HODL Brand and all these small companies that are doing big things for mainstream adoption.
It's cool.
I really want to support them. So that you guys are working with Bit Ninja, guys, head on over there and grab some of their swag. Support the Coin Boys. Support Bit Ninja. And actually, coming soon, I'll have some swag out as well, man. But I'm really excited. Wait. Did you guys grab one of the boxes?
We have something special we're working out with.
Okay.
We might be giving away.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. But I just want to tell people that if you want to find a place where you know that you're going to get unbiased opinions, because we don't take money from ICOs. So all of our shows, guess what? They're actually just coming on.
It's all discovery and luck.
But we have a roadmap. We plan on, we really take what we're doing seriously. Yeah. So we have some big things planned, whether it's video stuff.
Yeah, we want to get into video, and we'll see what happens in possibly February with some OTT stuff.
Yes, and shout out, tomorrow we're dropping, which is a fun kind of separate podcast we offer with our buddy Crypto Breakfast. It's Good Night Coin Boys, Good Morning Crypto Breakfast. It's dropping tomorrow. It's a fun hour of just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Dude, I love this. That's why I'm doing this. I love stuff like that. I really feel like the unstructured fireside is really what we need right now, more so than that mainstream structured, very direct interview feeling. Like, we had enough of that professional feel shit during the bull run, and right now what I feel like we need is some authenticity, and that's that comes from like those spontaneous conversations and collabs like what you're doing with Breakfast. That's awesome, man. Like, I'm excited to check that out. So I guess the last question, either one of you can fire at it or take a shot at it, but sort of like, what's your elevator pitch for Bitcoin? Or should I'll ask for crypto in general, like when people are asking about coins, right? Because these are the Coin Boys podcast. When people see that shirt, they're like, so what are coins? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, Western currency or old timely, gold coins and stuff, or what? What are these coins?
Go. You want to try?
You try first.
All right. What I just tell people when they go, what is this stuff? I say,
I get angry.
I say it's a way for us to take back power and to give and to help others that need help. It's both. So if I make something, I can create a coin, and now I own this whole thing, and I control how much it's worth, how much of the profits I get, so on and so forth. So it's great for business. But there's also women in the Middle East who are hard workers, earning money every day, and they don't have a bank account because they're a woman. And this technology can bypass the banks, which we all hate anyways, and give us back control of our money, plus more security than the banks can offer. Yep. So that's what I just try to tell people.
I want to just say and add a thing is that I hate the word no coiner, because we should be bringing in people and letting them in and understand what crypto is. So I don't call them no coiners. I call them just non-crypto people. And the way I approach people, that if they like, I won't preach to them, but like I won't like shove it down their throat. If they're not interested, I know they're not going to be. So I back up. But there are people that are like, can you tell me a little bit about crypto? And I'll just do my best to send them in the directions that they need to find that are just very simple for people to just say, here's a video. This is kind of like the basics of Bitcoin 101. This is it. Like, this is what it's supposed to be meant for. And I just think that this is the future. And it's hard to convince not no corners, but non-crypto people that it's good for the future. But you know what? As we get further, as more companies and, like you said, the developers, the underneath people, as that grows, that's going to take over. And then we're going to get the new people easier, right? But right now it's a fight. But I'm just going to be patient like we always are with what we believe in. And I'm just going to,
I don't see it too much as a fight. I see it more as a wait, and if I have an opportunity to educate somebody, I will. But no matter what, I know, Andy knows that this technology is just going to take over, and it'll either naturally integrate into what you're already doing, or you're going to have to learn a little bit more in order to catch up with everybody else.
Yes.
I think I have to agree with Andy, though. It is a fight, man. I feel like we're in an information war. We're fighting the mainstream media on misinformation.
That is true.
And that's where it becomes a fight, right? Like the people that are in a privileged position to take action and maybe even do something like purchase Bitcoin, they're privileged enough. Wow, you're in a position where you can sign up for Coinbase and easily get Bitcoin. Good for you, but you're probably also now in a position where it doesn't make sense. And you don't see the use case. Now you're also blindsided by your privilege, and the people that could mostly utilize this the most have the hardest on-ramps and are being suppressed the most. And that's where I feel like it's the blinders. People don't realize a use for something until they're taken advantage of by something else. Oh, fuck the police until your house gets robbed, right? You know what I mean? It's sort of the same thing. Like, fuck, anything but a bank. Like, how's that not insured? That's too sketchy, risky. And then, well, next thing you know, somebody stole your Visa information and your bank is really trying to say you spent that money. Now you have to hire a lawyer and a private investigator to prove you didn't spend that money with your debit card because that person knew your PIN number. And it just seems like they had too much, even had your signature, and you're like, but it wasn't me. Well, they did it. So now you have to prove to us it wasn't you, and now you could be out 30 grand or more. And people have these problems, but they don't see them until they're in that awkward position. So I just think, you're right as well. We have to wait, but we also have to fight while we're waiting.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with the misinformation, and that's just in general, period. I'm sick of it all over, crypto or not. It's just ridiculous. So definitely.
How many times do I text you and I'm like, Daniel, I got to put my foot in my mouth? Because like the coin, I don't ever attack people on Twitter. I don't ever, on the Coin Boys. On my personal, I might reach a little further, but I have to like talk to him sometimes and be like, I want to so badly say
that's
something.
The thing of being a journalist. What you're doing is called journalistic integrity, and you're trying your best to leave your biased opinion out of that environment. And you can be a personal person outside of that podcast and have your biased opinions. You're entitled to them. But when you are in the journalistic environment of the podcast, you have to try to be unbiased. And I actually would like to give a shout out to who I believe is the most admirable podcaster in this industry, would be Omar Bam. The dude has stayed unbiased, and he's open-minded, and he likes competing with things that he has originally loved. I've seen him have self-conflict with Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash, from Ethereum to other things, and I've seen this, and he leaves his biasness out of it on his podcast. But in his personal opinions, he has his biasness. He's like, this is why I like this and why I like that. But as a journalist, you try, and I see that you're saying like you're fighting with that, but that's the integrity part, right? And we have to try to leave our biasness out of it. Like if I were to interview, somebody, I don't want to, contradict everything you're saying because of my personal beliefs and my biasness, right? You have to go genuinely into something as a journalist with just questions, not so much answers.
And I think in the early days, I fought with that because I didn't see it, but now I understand it more than ever. And I think, it's just funny. It's like I have Daniel to kind of, level me out sometimes.
Eventually you can't, like Mark Twain said, never try to argue with the fool. They'll bring you down to their level and they'll beat you with experience.
Right.
So Something like that. That's not a direct quote, but it's pretty close to that. And so it frustrates Andy. And I'm like, you can't let it. There are just people that are there to just watch you burn. Like they'll say anything to get you to burn. You can't let that part of your life stress out. Now, yes, say your piece. Say what you need to say. Say it correctly. And then at that point, you got to walk away. If still you're
I'll walk away.
All right, guys. Well, I'm so happy to have you on. This was probably one of my favorite combos. The gaming crypto that we've kind of went through here. I feel like the listeners, should try to incorporate some of that. Check out the Ember Sword stuff. Check out Engine. Check out
Feta token.
Wax.
Yeah, dude, check out all these things. Check out Wax and just like look into it. I'm not telling you, hey, go buy these tokens, invest in them. I'm saying learn about them because they're playing important roles in where even Bitcoin is going moving forward.
Yeah.
Learn about all the odds and ends from even trading to, how these platforms work outside of currencies, these non-fungibles. I hope you guys are encouraged to learn more from listening to this. And if you just wanted to check it out, they have their podcast link below as well as their personal link. So check out the info below. And I'll put a link to that Ember Sword there because that's really
I DM'd you their Twitter account. So you have I get all their stuff from there.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks.
This was great, man. Thanks
so much. What was it? Good.
Oh, Play Ember Sword. That's it. Play Ember Sword on Twitter. But dude, Ken, we thank you, man. Yeah. I love the idea where you're just like, hey, everybody, if you want to be on my show, pick a date. And I picked a date, and I'm glad that we came on. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you so much, man.
We helped to see.
I don't know. There's a weird thing behind that because like I was like, everybody's offering me money to come on my podcast, and I'm just like, ew, dirty. No, stop it. So I just started sending them my Calendarly link and was like, here, dude, I'm available when I'm available. My time is my time. It's whatever. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna share this out because like everybody should. Whoever wants to talk to me, let's talk. Sure. And it's weird that people feel like, oh, I would have reached out if I knew you, would have me on. I thought, would be like charging. I asked somebody else and they'd charge me $1,000. And I'm like, okay, awkward, so yeah, dude, I'm just happy you guys wanted to talk to me, and I was on your podcast as well. So
that was a great episode.
I'll actually, guys, you want to check it out? I'll put a link to the podcast. I was a guest on their podcast, on the Coin Boys podcast, so check that out. And yeah, if you enjoyed this conversation, let us know. Pound that thumbs up button. Let us know how we did. If you did enjoy it, hit the thumbs down button. I got to gauge this shit. I got to figure out what you guys like and don't like. The subscribe button, it looks like the subscribe button on whoever you subscribed to before. Just click it and it will say subscribed, and that's how you know you subscribed. And there's a little bell on that. Have you ever seen that bell next to subscribe on it? If you hold your phone and flick it, it makes a ding sound. If you don't believe me, try it. And yeah, guys, check it out. I hope you enjoyed it. Everybody, have a day.
Thanks.
Have a day.
Peace.
Shout out to Satoshi's Ball by JustLearnCrypto.com in Ottawa, December 15th. Monarch Token of Monarch Wallet, StrokenTokens.com, Bitcoin Energy, and Bitbacker.io. Shout out.